Hey guys, how's it going? This is Deadly. Welcome back to the Nomadic Challenge, the leveling series where I self-craft all my equipment and gear all the way to level 100. We're starting things off in Booty Bay doing some crafting, and I was able to put together enough resources to make myself an awesome new helmet, the green iron helmet, which requires a lot of iron ore, and then also you gotta go around and you have to purchase some green dye. And if you're around this level and you're doing a lot of blacksmithing or crafting, purchase a lot of green dye because you're going to be needing it to hit higher blacksmithing levels. So go to Stormwind, go to any tailoring supplier and buy a hell of a lot of it. You don't need any other dye other than green. So don't go out, and I actually just went ahead and bought a fuckload of dyes. Don't do that. Just buy the green ones. That's all you need. But I decided to carry around a whole bag full of dyes. In Cave of Stranglethorn, we're going to be here from level 35 to around 37, and the only resource that you're going to be able to farm here is pretty much iron ore, so you're going to need a lot of it. But the good news is there's a lot of equipment that is around your level. It's like late 20s, early 30s, so it's pretty good. There's a huge gap. There's a huge gap between your bronze equipment and the iron armor. So you're going to be sitting around using a kind of a mixture. I also read a comment from somebody from last video wondering what my weapon is, and I was able to craft a bronze maul. So that's what that is, if anybody was wondering. I actually didn't get footage of me crafting that. So it is a bronze maul, and it is a level, I believe it's a level like 21 or 22 item, and it's not bad, but it's really all I can make. That's a two-hander weapon for Ret at this time. I'm starting one of the cooler quest lines that you can get at the lower level whenever you're on the Alliance side, which is the Battle for Booty Bay. And you discover this plot that the Bloodsill pirates are going to be invading the entire area to try to take control over Booty Bay. And you're tasked on infiltrating their ranks, earning their trust, and then sabotaging the plans from the bottom up. And it's a pretty interesting quest line. So you're going to be reusing a couple zones here that I've already been to, like the island over there, like I call it the Donkey Kong Island. So you're going to be going back there to fight some ninjas. You'll see that in a little bit. But we're going to be starting off by collecting some supplies from these Bloodsill pirates, getting enough snuff, which is basically like an old school cocaine. I'm almost positive that's what it is. They used to like shoot it up their nose in like the early 1900s, late 1800s. Yeah, that's just what rich people did, I guess. So if you're ever wondering what snuff was, that's my general assumption of what it is. We're also going to be killing a number of sea giants. Last episode, we did kill the first sea giant, but we're going to be going on and killing Makarash. He's that giant that is on that little island just before you get into Booty Bay, if you're just ever wondering what the hell that thing is doing there. It's a quest guy, so you're going to have to go over there and swim to the island, kill it. And unfortunately, you also have to decapitate a cow. And you get to choose what option to actually do it in. So I actually started to talk to the cow a little bit. I didn't just say moo and cut its head off. That would have been pretty dramatic. But anyway, so we got the head, and we used the head to create a fake Tauren face to confuse these guys and say, hey, I assassinated the leader of Booty Bay. Here's his head. Give me a job. You start off with some pretty shitty work. You got to sweep the decks. You got to dig up cannonballs at the bottom of the ocean. But all little petty work until they start trusting you a little bit more with some more operations work. But yeah, we're currently level 36, which means we get a brand new Paladin ability, which is called Rebuke. Rebuke is one of those bread and butter abilities that mainly every class has at some capacity. It's your standard class interrupt. So it's an instant cast. It has a 15-second cooldown. It interrupts spell casting and prevents any spell in that school from being cast for 4 seconds. So put this on a hotkey that you love. For me personally, it's always V. I find my interrupt ability on the V key works with every single class that I play, including my hunter. So that's the that's the keybind that I'm going to be putting on. If you don't put it on a key binding that you're comfortable with using, you're just not going to be able to react fast enough in PvP situations to make any difference. So just keep that in mind. always try to put things on keybinds rather than clicking. So within a span of, I don't know, 20 minutes, we went from sweeping floors to actually doing missions for the head Bloodsail Admiral himself. And yeah, that's some escalation. So we're going to be taking out some Venture Co. Oil workers. So these guys are currently working on the oil fields, and I can only speculate that the Bloodsail want that oil for themselves. We also get a quest where we have to go over to this island, take our pirate buddies with us, and start fighting some ninjas. Seems incredibly random, but there's this ongoing thing, I guess, out there, like pirates versus ninjas. Even Deadliest Warrior did something like with pirates versus ninjas. I don't really know where that originated from. It seems incredibly random. If you know what this is all about, where it kind of started, let me know in the comments below. So after blowing up some oil workers and going to an island and killing pirates, it's time to begin our sabotage plan. At this point, we've earned enough trust with the Bloodsail to go in, get access to some of their supplies, and start the sabotage. It turns out pirates don't like to be called traitors, so if you go around to some of the Bloodsail in the lower ends of the ship and start accusing them of actually being a traitor, then you'll begin a fight to the death, quickly thinning their ranks. So you can easily start running around accusing people of being a traitor, killing them, and no one really bats an eye, which is actually pretty hilarious work. So we sabotage some of the supplies, we'll go from ship to ship, and then eventually make our way back over to Booty Bay and kind of tell them exactly what we're getting into and prepare Booty Bay as much as we can for the coming invasion. And we just hit level 37 during this questing line. Typically, in Cape of Stranglethorn, you can get to level 35 and move on, but I decided, hey, I need the iron ore, and these quests are still giving me a lot of experience, and I don't finish this questing chain that much, so I decided to stay. And as soon as you start turning in some quests, there it goes, the attack begins, and you accept some additional quests, and the killing begins. Also, typically with a Paladin, at this point, you can use Seal of Righteousness with your hammer and also Divine to actually do a lot of AoE damage. But because my gear isn't up to snuff, I am actually not able to pull a lot of these guys. So you can do this quest really quickly as a Paladin if you're using questing gear, and especially BOAs. But unfortunately for me, I only can kill 1 or 2 at a time. 2 takes me down to half health. Any more than that is going to put me near dead. So I got to kind of be mindful of what's actually going on here and how many I actually take on. Now, if you're doing the Iron Man challenge, this quest can actually be pretty rough. So I recommend not actually doing this questing chain because, especially on these ships here, you can get 3 or 4 and possibly 5 enemies on you at once. And if you have no equipment or very shitty equipment like me, they can take you down really quick. I actually died on one of these ships from just not paying enough attention. But after you actually kill all the pirates off the docks, you get on a wyvern and you start bombing them from the air, making pretty short work of all these forces. It makes me wonder, like, why don't Warcraft just fight all their battles using wyverns and dynamite? It seems to be pretty damn effective if you ask me. I mean, when it comes to killing pirates or murlocs or undead or, you know, crazy outland guys, getting on a fly mount and just throwing explosives off the side seems to be a pretty sure way of winning a fight. Anyway, we end up sabotaging everything and we complete the questing line, and it's time to do some blacksmithing. I'm officially done of Cape of Stranglethorn after we successfully defended Booty Bay. So I'm going to be smelting all this iron, all the silver, and all the tin that I collected while doing my quests. And then I'm going to be crafting some green iron bracers, which is a new piece of equipment that I'm going to be using. So just yet another decent piece of equipment. And then I also flew back to Stormwind and started selling my supplies. As you can see, I currently have around 300 gold. That's actually just specifically from doing quests and doing some light selling, but nothing too crazy. But all the excess materials I don't delete for obvious reasons. I don't have any Alliance character that's on this server. While in Stormwind, I was able to pick up a green leather armor, which is created by a leather worker. It's obviously I can't do, to make a green iron chest, which is really awesome. A little bit more difficult piece to create, But if you have access to, anybody who has the leatherworking ability, you can get that piece and then turn it into a cool iron chest plate, which looks really awesome. My gear is really starting to match, which is really nice. This is the first time in the series that I kind of have a matching armor set that I kind of like. So after Stormwind, it's time to go over to Western Plaguelands and do the Battle of Andorhal. So goodbye Stranglethorn Vale and hello Western Plaguelands. We're going to be here for a little while, and when you initially get here, it's pretty much exclusively kill quests. So you have to defend Andorhal from the undead, and then also the Horde are on the other side as well. So it's a massive battle, Horde versus Scourge versus Alliance, which is actually pretty awesome, and it's kind of like tying together some of the lore after Wrath of the Lich King. So if you actually go in and start reading some quest text, Thessarian is here on the Alliance, and I actually forget who's on the Horde side. But anyway, you have an equivalent Death Knight, and they actually meet on the battlefield like old friends. Unfortunately, Sylvanus Windrunner finds this out and actually chains the guy up on the Horde side and sends him back to Undercity. So I don't really know what's going on with that guy. I don't think he's actually popped up in the lore at any time else, but I'm assuming he's being tortured to shit. So we just hit level 38, and we're also killing Azir the Summoner. And usually, if you don't waste him down like I did, he'll actually start summoning skeletons. But you get a quest ability to actually just throw a bomb on the crowd to blow them all up. Again, explosives. Why don't we just throw a bunch of bombs at every single boss that we have to encounter? Like the Lich King. Why didn't we just bomb the shit out of him with a lot of nukes? I don't know. I'm just saying. It seems to work with everything else. I don't know why we just don't do it some more. But anyways, after the Battle of Andorhal, you'll get started with it, but you have to go over to Chillwind Camp to help out there. You got to get some plague meat, and you have to start collecting some quills to make more arrows and just kind of help these guys out a little bit more. You're also going to be doing some quests around Uther's Tomb. So if you guys have played Warcraft 3, you'll know, or actually even played the Culling of Stratholme, you'll know Uther the Lightbringer. He was buried around here, so you have to go and put some souls to rest that are around his tomb and quell the tomb of undead that have kind of infested it and got into the way. But at level 38, we get yet another epic ability for the Paladin, and that is Hammer of Wrath, which is essentially Kill Shot, which is one of my favorite abilities on the Hunter, and it's also effectively Execute and a whole lot of other abilities. Really powerful. Also put this on a awesome keybind because you're going to be using this a lot. It has a 30-yard range, a 6-second cooldown, and it hurls a magical hammer that strikes an enemy for a huge amount of spell power, or a huge amount of holy damage, my bad. But the target must be below 20% health. So it's essentially just a kill shot. It will one-shot your enemies, typically, once they're below 20% health. At level 92, this actually gets increased to 35% if you get the Empowered Hammer of Wrath. But that's something that we won't be seeing in a very long time here. And that's kind of happening a lot. A lot of the abilities for all the classes in World of Warcraft are really getting synergized. And I mentioned this, I think in like episode 1 or episode 2 of the series, and you can really see it here. Like Counter Shot or Silencing Shot, that's pretty much Rebuke. Hammer of Wrath and Kill Shot, pretty much the exact same abilities. So although every class kind of has their unique class abilities, like Paladins with their bubbles, Shamans with their totems, Hunters with their pets and traps, you kind of like throw that all away and you just look at damage, defenses, and CC, and you kind of get very similar vibes across all the damage classes. And I know a lot of people don't like that, but for balancing and PvP, it's actually for PvP it's kind of a good thing. For PvE and just kind of a roleplay MMO atmosphere, it's obviously not a good thing. Because back in vanilla, one faction had the Paladins, which was the Alliance. The other had the Shamans. And you couldn't play an Alliance Shaman, and you couldn't play a Horde Paladin. and people liked that. You know, it was unique. So it was awesome. I think we lost that kind of uniqueness along the way, and I think that kind of took a little bit of the piss out of the factions a little bit, made them a little bit too synergized, and it's at the point right now where it's really pointless. I mean, the Horde and the Alliance essentially are the same. It doesn't really matter what you choose. The racial abilities have all been pretty balanced. You can argue which one's the best, but it really doesn't matter at the end of the day. You can do everything that you can on a human paladin that you can on a Tauren paladin. So, I don't know. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. I'd like to hear your thoughts on the changes to the skills and talent trees. And also, if you're watching this and you're 15 minutes, 16 minutes in, definitely give it a thumbs up, and also share this around with your friends. That would be great. So we moved on from the Battle of Andorhal, and we're now at the Mender's Steed, which is a druid camp, and they're the ones that are essentially responsible for curing Western Plaguelands of its Plaguelands. If you played in Cataclysm, you'll know that for the most part, Western Plaguelands was completely destroyed by the Scourge, and now you can see life starting to come back to it. It almost looks a little bit like Elwyn Forest, and that's kind of a part of all the quest lines that are in the area as well. Now on the Alliance, you're focused on completely eradicating all Scourge and Forsaken, no matter what the cost. On the Horde side, you're actually continuing the stuff that you were doing in Silverpine Forest, which is learning a little bit how Sylvanas is using the Valkyrie to replenish the Forsaken army. Although at the time when Garrosh Hellscream was war chief, he didn't really like it too much. Sylvanas is taking advantage of the fact that Western Plaguelands is starting to get resettled by Lordaeron, by humans, and going around killing and just massacring all the farmers and converting them into Forsaken soldiers, because obviously Forsaken can't procreate. So I'm pretty sure that's why the Horde is still kind of keen on helping Western Plaguelands become, what it used to be, the lands of Lordaeron. And obviously with the other factions that are not the Forsaken, they probably want the Scourge to be completely gone. And most of the Horde races aren't even too keen on the Forsaken either. But anyways, guys, we're in the North Ridge Lumber Camp, and this is where our story ends for today. We're going to be hitting level 40 right now, which means starting next video, we're going to be able to run at 100% speed with all of our mounts, which is amazing. It's going to increase the speed, it's going to increase the effectiveness of going around and doing questing only, and I can't wait. Alright guys, so I'm super excited. Make sure you guys come out to my live streams every Wednesday and Sunday. I'm playing World of Warcraft there, and I also stream on Twitch every single day at 8:30 a.m. Eastern Standard, twitch.tv/DeadlySlob. If you guys have any questions about the show, or you just want to talk to me live, I'll be there all the time. Feel free to stop by and say hi, and I will see you guys in episode 9. We're going to be reaching